Hello friends, great to have you on this platform, Mathematics Olympiad. Welcome once again, and today we shall be considering some explanations on imaginary numbers. So we shall quickly talk about imaginary number represented by I. The I is always equal to square root of minus 1. And when you have I squared, is always equal to minus 1. Now, if you want to find I raised to power 3, how do we do that? It means we need to get I squared times I. That will give us I raised to power 3. So since I squared equals minus 1, and then I raised to power 3 or I cubed equals I squared times I. So then that means we have I raised to power 3 will be equal to minus 1 times I, because I squared is minus 1 times then times I will give us I raised to power 3. So I squared is minus 1, then times I, that will give us minus I. It means I raised to power 3 is minus I. Now to find I raised to power 4, that will give us I raised to power 2 times I raised to power 2. That is I squared times I squared. Now I squared times I squared will give us I raised to power 4. Since I squared equals minus 1, then we can just say and I raised to power 4 is I squared times I squared. Then we can just say minus 1 times minus 1. Minus times minus will give us plus, and 1 times 1 will give us 1. That means I raised to power of 4 equals 1. Now, to find solution to I raised to power 5, that is imaginary number raised to power 5, we have I raised to power 5 to be equal to I raised to power 2 times I raised to power another 2, then times I. If we solve that one using the rule of exponents, I raised to power 2 times I raised to power 2 times I will give us I raised to power 5. That is, we take one base I, then we add the power 2 plus 2 plus 1, that's 5. So I raised to power 5 equals I raised to power 2 times I raised to power 2 times I. Now we have I raised to power 2 to be minus 1, which means we are multiplying minus 1 times minus 1 then times I. And since our I is square root of minus 1, that means we are multiplying, or we have I raised to power 5 to be minus 1 times minus 1 times square root of minus 1. And that will give us square root of minus 1, because minus times minus there will be plus, 1 times 1 will be 1, then 1 times square root of minus 1 will be square root of minus 1. So we can write square root of minus 1, or we write I. So I raised to power 5 equals square root of minus 1 or equals I. Now we want to find what to be the value of I raised to power 6. Now, to get I raised to power 6, if you use the rule of the law of exponents, we have I raised to power 6 to be I times I raised to power 2 times I raised to power 2 times another I raised to power 2. That is, you say 2 times 2 times 2 will give us 8. No. If you use the rule of exponent, if you take one of the bases I, you have the power 2 plus 2 plus 2. That's 6. So it means I raised to power 6 equals I raised to power 2 times I raised to power 2 times I raised to power 2. And we have our I raised to power 2, the imaginary raised to power 2, equals minus 1. So since we have I raised to power 2 to be minus 1, we can just plug that one in as we can plug in minus 1 as I raised to power 2. So that means we have I raised to power 6 equals minus 1 times minus 1 times minus 1. Now, minus times minus will give us plus. Then plus times minus will give us minus. Then 1 times 1 times 1 will give us 1. So, which means I raised to power 6 equals minus 1. Now, going by the solving above, we can conclude that I raised to power 7 equals minus I, which I want you to solve by yourself and then send the answer to the comment box or as a message. Then also I raised to power 8 equals 1. I want you to confirm that also and send the answer as into the comment box. So for the next class, please send the answer. We are still continuing, we are not through yet, but just confirm these ones and send the answer. Prove the workings that I raised to power 7 equals minus I and I raised to power 8 equals 1. Send the answer to the comment box as we continue. Now, we have other 3 questions to solve here. We are going to solve question number 1, which says 2 minus I into bracket plus 4 minus 2I into bracket. Number 2, 2 minus I into bracket multiplied by 4 plus 2I into bracket. That's the difference between question 1 and question number 2. Question number 1 is having plus separating the 2 brackets, while question number 2 is having multiplication, though not written there, but is there. The multiplication separating the 2 brackets in question number 2. So question number 3, we have to simplify 5 plus 2I all over 3 minus I. So we are going to solve the first question now, and the first question says 2 minus I into bracket plus 4 plus 2I into bracket. So we are going to expand the bracket first, and by expanding the bracket, since we have plus 1 as the coefficient of the bracket, It's not written there, but it's there as the coefficient of the bracket. So if we use plus 1 to open the bracket, 2 minus I, we get 2 minus I back. Then plus 1 to open the bracket, the second bracket, 4 plus 2I, we get plus 4 plus 2I. Then if we collect the like times, we have minus I plus 2I plus 2 plus 4. The signs are not changing because we are not crossing equal sign. So since we are not crossing equal sign and we have minus I plus 2I, minus I plus 2I will give us I. Then plus 2 plus 4 will give us plus 6. And then we know that I is equivalent to square root of minus 1. So we replace I with square root of minus 1, then plus 6. So our final answer there will be square root of minus 1 plus 6 for that particular question 1 here. Now going for question number 2. Question number 2 says 2 minus I into bracket multiplied by 4 plus 2I into bracket. Now we need to expand this bracket. To expand this bracket is different from the way we expanded the other one. Though it's almost the same, because the plus 1 here there that we used to open the bracket there, here now is a little bit different because we have multiplication here. The other place we had plus, but here now we have multiplication, so it's a little bit different, not too exactly the same. So we are going to expand the bracket by picking the 2 in the first bracket, then we use it to multiply everything in the second bracket, and that's why we have 2 into bracket 4 plus 2I close bracket. Then remaining minus I in the first bracket, we use it to multiply everything in the second bracket as well. So minus I into bracket 4 plus 2I close the bracket. So we have 2 times 4 will give us 8. Then plus times plus will give us plus. Then 2 times 2I will give us 4I. That we have expanded the first bracket. To expand the second bracket, we have the sign first. We multiply the signs first. Minus times plus. The plus, there is a plus sign in front of that 4. That is, or at the back of that 4. Or before 4. That is not visible, but is there. So minus times plus is minus. Then I times 4, that's 4I. Then we take the minus again to multiply the plus in before that 2I. So minus times plus again is minus. I times 2I is 2I squared. So we have 8 plus 4I minus 4I minus 2I squared. Collecting the like times, we have all the times are already collected, so what we just need is to solve it out. So since we have 8 plus 4i minus 4i minus 2i squared, plus 4i there and minus 4i will cancel out each other. So we have 8 minus 2i squared left. So we have 8 minus 2i squared left. To solve this now, to solve it further, we know that I is square root of minus 1 and I square is minus 1. That is minus square root of minus 1 times square root of minus 1. So I square is minus 1. So we can just plug in that I square, which is minus 1, into I squared. 2 is multiplying I squared, so we'll plug in minus 1 in place of I squared. So we have 8 minus 2i squared equals 8 minus 2 times minus 1. Then we have 8 minus 1 times minus 1 is plus. Then 2 times 1 is 2. Then 8 plus 2 equals 10. Now to solve question number 3. And the question says 5 plus 2i over 3 minus I. You have to simplify. Now we are going to use a kind of under SORT, the topic called SORT. There is what you call rationalization, and then there is what you also call conjugation. So we are going to make use of that here. So we have 5 plus 2i over 3 minus I. We use it to multiply. We will multiply both the numerator and denominator by the denominator, the conjugate of denominator. The denominator here is 3 minus I. So the conjugate of 3 minus I is 3 plus I. If it's minus, to find the conjugate, you change the minus to plus. If it's plus before, to find the conjugate, you change the plus to minus. So that's how to find the conjugate. So to find the conjugate of 3 minus I, which is the denominator, we get 3 plus I. So we use that 3 plus I to multiply both the numerator and denominator. So we now have 5 plus 2i over 3 minus I times 3 plus I over 3 plus I. Now to expand, we have 5 plus 2i times 3 plus I, that is numerator multiplies numerator, while denominator multiplies denominator. So we have 5 plus 2i into bracket multiply 3 plus I into bracket, then all over 3 minus I into bracket multiplies 3 plus I into bracket. Now we want to expand this bracket. Now we expanded the way we expanded the other one because of multiplication in between them. So we take that 5 in the first bracket in the numerator to multiply everything in the second bracket, and we take the plus 2i that we have left in the first bracket in the numerator to multiply everything in the second bracket as well. So we have 5 into bracket 3 plus I close bracket plus 2i into bracket 3 plus I as well into bracket, then all over We do the same thing for denominator. So we have 3 into bracket 3 plus I close bracket minus I into bracket 3 plus I into bracket. So we are going to expand now and do the multiplication. So 5 times 3 will give us 15 plus 5 times I will give us 5I. We are dealing with numerator first. Then plus 2I times 3 will give us plus 6I. Then plus times plus is plus. Then 2I times I will give us 2I squared. That's that is numerator. Now to find the denominator now, we have 3 times 3 equals 9 plus 3 times I, that's 3I. Then minus I times 3, that's minus 3I. The minus times plus is minus, then I times I equals I squared. So what we have now is 15 plus 5I plus 6I plus 2I squared all over 9 plus 3I minus 3I minus I squared. Then what we now have is plus 5I plus 6I. Since they are like times, we can add them together in the numerator, so that will give us 11I. Then plus 3I minus 3I in the denominator will cancel out each other. So we have 15 plus 11I plus 2I squared all over 9 minus I squared. So we have, since our I square, since we know that I square is minus 1, we can just plug it in to multiply the 2 where we have 2I squared. Then we also replace it where we have I squared in the denominator with minus 1. So we have 15 plus 11I plus 2 times minus 1 all over 9 minus 1. So that one will give us 15 plus 11I plus 2 times minus 1. That will give us plus 2 times minus 1 will give us minus 2 all over 9 minus 1 minus 9 minus 1 rather. So we now have 15 plus 11I minus 2 all over 9 minus 1. So Minus times minus on the denominator will give us plus. So we have 15 minus 2 plus 11i over 9 plus 1. That will now give us 13. 15 minus 2 is 13. Then 13 plus 11i over 10. So I have the following questions for us to solve, and then we drop the answers in the comment box or as messages against the next class. So the first question is, we are to simplify I raised to power 40, and B, the second question, we have to simplify 5 into bracket 2 minus I close bracket minus 3 into bracket 4 plus 2I into bracket. So till we meet next class, please don't forget to share the video with your friends, and also to click the subscription, like, and the notification button for more of this. Thank you very much.